Okay, so what we're going to do today is we are going to draw the cabin or the cottage, and we're going to use the cabin as our base to move to the cottage. Just want to refresh a couple of items on the cabin drawing. So this was our cabin base. We have the following layers. We have dimensions, doors, text, walls, and windows. And if we drew a door, we're going to draw a rectangle, and we type in D. How long is this First, they're asking for the length of the rectangle. This one would be, actually, I'm doing a door in the window area. So I type in D. My length is 36, and my width is 2. And I got that wrong. I want it in the other direction. So D for dimension, 2, 36. That was how we do the dimension. When we're doing the arc, we're doing a start center angle. You have to start not at this end of the door, but over at this end. And then the center is the other end of the door, and you can see the angle come in. This one, it's obvious we're just doing 90. If it was going in the other direction, we do negative 90. And then in the video, we took that door and copied it around. The windows we drew once. We drew the frame, and then copied it, and then drew a line between them for the sill on both sides, and then offset it 2.5 inches. So we get 1 inch in between. Then what we want to do is we want to explode this guy. And then we delete the part of the window that's at the wall. And then we come and grab all these and group them together. Now they're all one group, and I can take them and I can copy it multiple times and put it in all the windows. So this is the same procedure we'll use for the other for the cottage, just different thicknesses on the windows. And then to stretch it, you do the stretch command first, then select the objects, and you'll stretch it to the end. So that's just a brief refresher on what we did on this. And we put the titles in there and your name at the bottom. So to start the new drawing, if we want to start a cottage drawing, what we want to do is we want to rename this drawing, because we've already got some info in here that we want to save. So we want to rename it. So save as, and I'm going to call this cottage drawing. Got drawing twice in there. And I'll save it. So you notice up here I've got cottage drawing. That used to be my old cabin drawing. This is my cottage demo that we were working on last week. So if I do this, what I'm able to do then is, if I had grouped these window doors together, I could keep the doors and move them off to the side. I could keep the windows if I wanted to too. Move them off to the side. And then I just delete everything that I've got here. Now I can start drawing, and I've got my lines types all set up. If I'd had my line weights in there, those would have transferred also. So what I want to do next is I want to draw the plan and the building. So I'm going to go to my wall layer, and the building is 26'3" by 23'6". So I'm going to take a rectangle, and I'm going to draw this, and I'm going to type in D for dimensions. D for dimensions, and then my distance is 26'3". Notice I don't have to do a dash, or I don't have to do the inches. And the width down is 23'6". There's the outside. Now this doesn't include that little porch there, but I'll get to that in a minute. And then I want to offset 9 inches for the walls. And then I want to explode all this. This one's a little funny because I didn't give you all of the dimensions that you need, and you're just going to have to kind of trust it and start drawing. But the first one is I know this wall is 9'9" over, so I'm going to offset 9'9". And so I don't get confused, I'm going to trim these lines down. And then in the other direction, I would go 15 feet to the edge of the stairs, or 5'6" to the stairs. We'll do 5'6". So I'm offsetting 5'6". And then my building starts another 4 feet from that because I've got 2 steps in the edge of the building. And then the total width is 15 feet from here out. So I'll offset 15 feet. So this right here is my building piece. So now I'm going to trim some stuff away just so I don't get confused. And now I can come and I can offset all of this 9 inches for the wall thickness. And a mistake that people make that they don't realize until later is that they offset to the wrong direction. So I'm going to fillet is one of my favorite commands. I'm going to type in multiple to do multiple fillets, and I'm going to trim this all up. So the other thing I need to do is to extend this line. I can extend the line in two manners. I can either take this and pull it over and do the same here, or I can hit the extend command. Then I'm going to trim these down. So there very quickly I got to the outside of my building. I'm going to finish out the steps. So that is 6 feet offset. And this is for the building. So these are steps I want them on a new layer, so I'm going to create a new layer. Here's a new layer button, and I'm going to call this steps. And I think we gave it like an orange color. So I'll say OK. And then if I grab those 2 layers, those 2 walls, I can come up here and change them to the steps layer. So if I fillet, I've got this here, and I can draw, as long as I'm on the steps layer, I can draw another line there. If you get this far, getting the windows should be pretty straightforward. So we've got all the windows and doors. So I'm going to go to the drawing that I had already worked on. So here's what you should end up with. And remember, I show you guys how to use this little arrow at the top. So when we were drawing it, we were drawing always with north up. So this will rotate it around. We're a 2-dimensional drawing, so if you rotate onto the side, you're just going to see a line. So I've got north up, and then I started drawing the elevations. I'm going to move this out of the way. This is what we'll end up looking like, so I can show you how to draw the elevations. So when I'm drawing the elevations, I'm starting with my south elevation, and what I want to do is first create line types. And you notice on here I already did. I've got light, medium, heavy line types. And so heavy is going to be our ground line. So I think I'm going to start with heavy. Come up here, and these we're going to assign line weights to them. And oops, I was on depth points. So now I'm going to use the depth points. I'm going to shut off. You can always shut off a layer. You can freeze a layer. So I'm going to shut off the dimensions layer so it's not in my way. So I'm not doing that yet. And I'm going to use the depth points to bring the lines down for the building. So what you want to do is bring down all of the lines for the outside of the building only. I bring one line down and then I copy it. It's easier than carrying multiple ones down. So that's the outside of my building. Now I've got my heights given to me. And so I'm 9'6" from the bottom. From the ground line to the bottom of the fascia or the soffit. And then the fascia board, is 10 inches high. And then the peak of the roof from the ground line is 14 foot 11 and a half. So this will get me started. I'm going to trim up lines so I'm not getting confused. And what we have is this roof line is going to go to 10 inches on either side, or I'm sorry, a foot on either side of the wall line. I'm going to offset 12 inches in each direction. Extend my lines. And then I can take a line from the midpoint of this and move it over to this edge. And then I take that line and move it over too. Now I typed in the word mid. If you do object snap, you type that in, you can come here and I can click midpoint. So midpoint will always be found. So now I've got my roof pitch. I don't need this line anymore. And I need to offset this 10 inches. Offset that 10, 10, and then I can start to fill it. Now I don't need this anymore, so I'm going to trim up a bunch of lines. And this is where I saw people making mistakes too, is they trimmed the wrong line. So just double check that you've got the outside of your building in the correct space. And what you should do is you have the ability to check your drawings at any time with the measure tool. So this should look like the outside of the building as you have it. The building also offsets on this side of 12 feet, so 12 feet, 12 inches. I'm going to offset this 12 inches for the overhang. And I'm going to extend these lines over. And then trim down again. And then if I offset this 2 foot 10 and a half, I've got the height of the roof on the little building, or the front porch or the front entryway. I'll extend that line across, this line up, and then come back and trim. And that's the outline of my building. Now I want to bring the windows down. But one thing that's important to do is to get my line weights right. Right now I have this whole soffit as one piece, whereas in reality, this part of it's back farther than this. So what I want to do is I want to trim that out and create them as two separate lines. So the front of the building is the closest to me, so it's going to be the heaviest. So I'm going to make that a heavy line. This is farther away. I'm going to make it a medium weight line. And then the ridge of the roof is the farthest away of the little roof, and I'm going to make that a lightweight line. So this is where the line weight colors come in handy, because you can instantly see what is supposed to be a heavy, medium, or lightweight line. You won't notice that until you print them though. Next thing I need to do is the chimney. So I bring the chimney down. And there I've got the chimney. The chimney is offset 2 feet from, I'm going to do a line, I'm going to go up 24. And then there's another way to trim too. So if I trim, see down here, I've got different modes, and the computer's always asking me what you're looking for. So I want to do it now using the cutting edges. So I type in T, hit return, it asks me for my cutting edges. I want these two to be my cutting edges. And I'm done selecting the object, so I hit return or enter, and then select objects to trim, and you notice it'll go through 2 spaces so I don't have to trim it twice. So there's multiple ways to do that. Now I need to bring my windows down. The way I'm going to bring the windows down is I'm going to do the windows always as a light line on the elevation. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to bring the outside of the window down. My suggestion would be to not do the frames of the window yet, but just to do the outsides. So then I'm going to copy this, bring it over. And there's the outside of my windows. Now this has this angled window at the center. So I'm going to offset the 1'8" that was asked for on both sides. Oh, okay. I'm going to show you something. I did this multiple times, so if I delete that, I've got multiple layers in there. So what's a way to get rid of multiple layers in a? Is to click on this and type in overkill. Overkill will tell me if I've got one duplicate. So you can get duplicate layers or non-consisting layers. So this is actually the top of my window. So I don't get confused, I'm going to make it that yellow color, so I know I'm dealing with all the windows. And I don't need any of the window lines above this point, so I'm going to go ahead and do my trim command and use the cutting edges again. I'm going to cut away, select my objects, I hit return, and get rid of all those lines at the top. And then I can fillet all of this. So it's always easiest if you start out broad and get detail more later. The sill is 3 feet above the finished ground line. So I'm going to move this up 3 feet, and I'm going to fillet again. And there's the outside of my window. I'm going to trim. I'm going to select cutting line again, select this, hit return, get rid of all these. A little bit easier. Take this to my lightweight line. And now the window is offset, the trim is offset 4 inches. The trim is not going to show up in the floor plan. The trim is out here we're only going to see the frame of the window, which is this little 2-inch box. So I'm going to offset the trim 4 inches. Actually, I need to come 4 inches in because I made the mistake of 4 inches in, and this one's 4 inches down, and this one's 4 inches out. And now I'm going to, again, use multiple fillet. If you have too many lines in here, this is where you start making mistakes. So broad picture first. All right, now I'm going to trim out the space in between the 3 windows. Now all I have to do is offset 2 inches inside for all the windows. And then I'll just fillet that. I want to fillet instead of trim because trim would make me do multiple lines over here. So to get multiple, I just go around the whole drawing. Okay, so I've got most of the drawing done. I just need to add the steps in, which is just bringing the lines down and you're offsetting 6 inches. And then pull the window down from up above. I'm not going to do that. I did it over here already, so you can see what this looks like. And I'm going to stop the video now, and then I will record how you do the other elevations.